I suppose, what have you made of Meath so far then in the league?
I suppose looking at the outside, you'd have to be disappointed. Probably haven't got some points on the board, but like looking at the league in general, especially Division 1, it's very tough to win, and we've seen some hugely competitive games and great games. But I think at the minute it doesn't look great for us because we've Dublin, Galway and Monaghan to play, but as Donald says, it's still out to play for. We hope to get a couple of points, but it's looking very difficult. At the start of the league, it probably would have earmarked Tyrone. Probably was a game where we could have picked up points. I know it's a tough place to go to, but they were probably missing a couple of players the day we played them. Obviously, we were short one or two ourselves, but it's just little things that happen in games that swing the momentum the other way, but they were unfortunate not to get something out of that game. And even the game down in Parton against Mayo, that's a game we possibly should have won as well. A mistake by Robin Clark cost them that match, but I know that's probably not fair to blame a young lad like that, but it was just like you've seen, he was left isolated, so it's a learning curve for everybody. I suppose it's fantastic to be there, but it's looking like we're probably going to go back down straight away, really.
It seemed to have entered that kind of the same stage where Scotland and Cavan are at, that kind of getting into the Super 8s, up and down between Division 1 and Division 2. Is that a worrying trend that it seems as if it's great to get to that point and there's a lot of teams that can get there, but then to make that next push seems...
Well, I think it's having the big panel of players or whatever, or having I suppose look at Meath over the last couple of years, we haven't got, say, a marquee forward like some to say Conor McManus from Monaghan, and you look at Dublin and Kerry, like the forwards they have. We kind of have developed playing a defensive system as well, which probably it doesn't suit us. We're a small kind of team, and we seem to just put everybody behind the ball rather than leaving players up front that can win their own ball. So it is frustrating, but we've seen like you've 8 teams up there. There's only the big teams are always going to be there, and as I said, like it's tough to. You nearly have to be playing championship football every game you go out to stay up there, and we just probably don't have the players around that can sustain that.
There seem to be they talk about this gap between the top teams, but sure, it's the same in your day as well. Was it back in the 90s? It wasn't the case that there was going to be 10 teams in the football championship that could win it. There was always that 4 or 5.
And if you go back, probably look at those games and I suppose the divisions, the way they were laid out as well, probably the same teams that were coming up and down as well every year, because it's Division 2 is very competitive as well. It's tough to get out of that, but you'll probably see the same teams coming back up again as competitors. We're probably one of those teams that will be up and down as well, and it's hard to see whether if Meath go back down, would they bounce back straight away. I said we've gone through a transition period, but that seems to be lasting a long time now at this stage, but last year probably was a great year for us because I suppose reached the Leinster final against the Super 8s, and we were competitive, but just didn't get across the line in some of those games, I suppose we need to be playing up in Division 1 if you want to bring young players on and improve, and that's where you will improve your skills. But it's just tough at the minute there because everybody is on top of the game, and it's hard to just compete at the minute.
Is there a worry that even though they're getting close, the fact that they're losing a lot of games? We saw when Kildare went up 2 years ago, they went out and lost to Carlow then a few weeks later in first round of the championship.
I think it does kind of batter the confidence a small bit, but the thing is, I suppose we're not getting hammered in those games, we're being competitive. I suppose, to be brutally honest, last Sunday I thought we were heading down to Clowney for a hiding really, and I was surprised kind of a bit with the result. There was only 3 points in it, but it's when you are being competitive like that, it's a good sign, but obviously it's not good for the confidence when you're being beaten, and you know, there are a lot of young that's kind of coming into that Meath team at the minute. That's probably, you know, it's you know, whether they can take that or not, it remains to be seen. You know.
I think like Mickey Newman's obviously a big loss, score guard and forward line. Brent Brennan's been out the last few weeks as well.
Yeah.
They're two guys that if you put them in there, it really would add to it.
Oh yeah, and I suppose, you know, and they're probably two different players. Mickey's a great ball winner, and you know we kind of don't have them at the minute, and Brent's a little fiery character that every team needs, you know, but two very talented players, and you can see kind of I suppose with our free taking that, like I suppose Mickey, you know, he'd be up there with some of the top players, but maybe not the same calibre as maybe Dean Rock from Dublin, but he was probably getting 90% or maybe 95% of what, you know, frees that we were getting, but we just don't have that kind of return at the minute. And you know, in tough and tight games like that, that's what hurts you. You know, you need to be getting every chance, especially, you know, up Division 1 playing against the big teams week in, week out.
Do you think Meath football still has the same identity?
Don't think so. No. I think going back probably when I was playing, compared to now, I think it's we've lost a bit. But like it's teams developed, the game developed. You know, rules changed, and it's very hard probably to play the football that we played because it was more kind of physical than, you know, nowadays they can't really touch a player and they're going down, and players are afraid of getting black cards. And I think, you know, with the sin bin now, the black card it does affect probably teams more so than being able to replace them straight on that. And I think it's a good idea really, because there is no kind of before there was no penalty as such you could replace the player. I think, you know, the sin bin is a good thing, but I suppose like we just need to, I suppose, keep at it and you know, and try and develop young players over what's left of the league and the next coming season to try and get back up and be competitive again. But I still think we're probably a long way off, you know, the top 5 or 6 teams in the country.
You came into Pat at the end of the team, let's say just before you won All Ireland, so you subsequently won All Ireland with another crop even. At the end of the following year, like the big 699 team they had, like you were bringing guys through who had seen Meath winning. Does that matter to us, don't you?
I think it does, yeah. So it's like when we come off the back probably of a very good underage system as well. We won a minor in 1990, we won in 92, won the 21 at Ireland 93. So we had that kind of batch of players coming through to probably what was, you know, a Meath team that was coming to the end of that year, with the likes of, say, Conor O'Rourke, O'Malley, Flynn, you know, all those guys that won at Ireland in 87 and 88, and for us to come onto the teams that they were still competitive, and, you know, to have the experience of playing with those players, it was massive, like, and you know, it's we had that winning mentality. We didn't know, like, I suppose you could look at probably nearly the same as Dublin now. Probably shouldn't have won, you know, or even got a couple of points from the games they played this year. They were beaten and you know, still, you know, grind out a result. And I suppose that's what we had, that with the winning mentality. And you know, success breeds success, and when you're not having it, it's very hard just to get across the line and, you know, break the duck. But, you know, like, needed some brilliant player. I think like Donald Cogan's here today. He's probably one of the best footballers in the country, and just that he's not, you know, he's just not getting the breaks he needs. Like, and we have a lot of good players, but it's, we just haven't kind of, you know, that marquee forward that we need at the minute.
You mentioned the rule changes and stuff there. Like, do you almost feel you talked about the physicality in the backyard? Do you almost feel sorry for the players in the modern game, and that they're almost like guinea pigs for these experimental rule changes? It doesn't feel like when you were playing, the game was the game, and it was kind of remained that way.
Yeah, and I suppose the style now has changed as well. Like, most teams kind of are setting up kind of defensively, and you know, rather than going out and getting scores, to try to do, you know, prevent them to the other end first, and then hit teams on the attack. But, you know, it's, I suppose when we were playing, if you were going through and a fella hit your shoulder, you know, he stopped you and that was it, or stop a lad running. You can't do that now, and I think it is probably ruined the game a small bit really, because you know, if you hit a fella good shoulder and knock him over, you're nearly in fear of being, you know, sent off or being black carded or whatever. I suppose they're trying to improve the game and speed it up a bit, but I don't think I don't think myself some of the rule changes haven't improved at all. They're kind of reverting teams that they're going to play defensively, then just keep teams out, and like for me, that's really not what Gaelic football is all about. Like, you know, you can see the difference in football now and hurling. Like it's end-to-end stuff where it's, you know, teams are just, they're happy enough to give their opponents the ball and then try and get it off them. You know, so it's the onus is probably on teams to get scores rather than, you know, play the ball. We're inviting teams on. It's like basketball nearly with their own defence, but it's not pretty to look at, you know.
Well, we were talking before about watching Galway this year, and Galway they've seemed to have abandoned the defensive football and going for it. Now all of a sudden they look like they could be a genuine contender. Is it something other teams could learn from?
I think so. We're just, you know, it's, as I said, it goes back to, you know, giving the teams with the ball, and Galway are not doing that, you know, and you know, they're playing some fantastic football, and players are there to express themselves. But I suppose that goes down to the manager and you know, whoever's, you know, over the team. Like Porridge Ice was an attacking, he was a front line, you know, player, and one of the best players of his era, and you've seen that kind of, you know, brush off on the team and the way they play, and they're allowed to express themselves and allowed to get forward, and you know what, the forwards are scoring more so than other teams, where it's you know, midfielders and half backs who are getting the scores, and corner backs, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, forwards are forwards and they're there for a reason, and you know, you see them playing, you know, wing back or even dropping back as far as corner back, it's just, it kind of gets the blood boiling sometimes. But I think, like, for me, I think Galway are playing very attractive football, and at the minute you would say like they would be kind of up there contenders if they can keep, you know, develop their style and you know, bring their game forward. It's a long way till the end of August now at the minute, you know.
You would have played a good way against Joyce's great team that he played on. You talk about like the county's DNA. It seems that Galway have just gone back to the DNA and the natural style of football that they always play.
Yeah, and I suppose like you just hate harping back on it, but the defensive system has kind of ruined football, and kind of, you know, they're developing. You know, they're kicking the ball more. You know, they've players up front a lot more. When like Galway, they're fantastic to see, but you can see the club, I suppose, system in Galway as well. You know, that's the way they play attacking football, where, you know, teams are nearly afraid to go out and attack in case they're getting, you know, caught on the counter attack. But like, I'm always, well, if you've players in their half, somebody has to mark them, you know, so they can't be left there on their own. So I think it's something that teams have to look at and can look at, and you know, like at the end of the day, you're going to have to develop a system to beat Dublin, to beat Kerry and the teams that are up there, and I always seem to have got that right at the minute.
Thanks for watching Our Game. Don't forget to like and share the videos, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe.